everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about giving you some tips for placement. I'm really happy about this one because I got the question from someone on YouTube and I ended up putting it out on Twitter and got quite a lot of responses. So I'm going to do something a bit different in this video and include those as part of the discussion. I've also linked up with the Student Social Work Hub and the Social Work Bohemians, they're called as well. I'm going to put their details up, but I absolutely love this group of students because they're just so helpful, and I just really wish that I'd had something like this myself as a student. So any chance I get, I'm just putting people towards them because I just think it's like a really supportive group. Anyway, so I'm going to be looking at my phone because I'm going to read you out some of the replies that people gave, and this is from people that are students themselves or have gone through the placements and the advice that they gave. So the first one is to get your diary sorted as early as possible. Book in your study days and any recall days or supervision days with your uni tutors to check in with them and discuss assignments you've been set. It's easy for placement to take over and forget that you're a student with uni work to do. And people have liked this comment particularly, and I definitely think that's true. And something that happened to me was that I just got so engaged with like wanting to do the work and actually being a social worker in practice that I sometimes avoided some of those support sessions with other students. And I think actually when I attended them, I missed out, I realised, by not doing that. And I think it's just as well around thinking about the assignments and making sure that you're not falling behind, because it's a different type of pressure on placement. So there's the pressure of everything's new and you're trying to learn it and you're trying to prove yourself practically, but then there's also still that element of having to get the academic stuff done, which I think it's a totally different state of mind you have to get into. And currently I'm studying a master's and working. It's a professional development master's, which I've been doing for a few years, and I know that sometimes when I'm working it's really hard to actually go from the stress of the day when you're dealing with really complex and unpredictable situations to then get in the zone of really focusing on something that's just very theoretical. So something that I do is set a time aside at like the weekends or set days to do that sort of work, that academic work, because it's just so different. So I definitely think that's a good tip around getting those days planned in. And then the second one is that social work is so vast, and don't feel that you have to know everything. Focus on learning in a particular area of work, lean on other colleagues and not just the practice tutor. Don't be afraid to share your view. So I think that's a really good point about social work being really vast, and I also think it's important because sometimes people feel that you need to go into a certain area of practice and that'll be, you know, like your perfect area. And I can say from my experience that I actually never thought that I'd work with older adults, but that's been the first thing that I've done as a social worker, and I've absolutely loved it. But I've also worked in multiple different teams, and the more I've moved and been on secondments and tried different things, the more I've realised that it's about those fundamental values and principles that you have as a social worker, and it's things like standing up for people's rights, and you find that you have a thirst for doing that, not just for a certain group of people, which you may think when you're a student, which I did. And then actually when you're in practice, you find that your skills just apply to so many areas and you'll feel interested because it's real situations. So another one on here is try to get as many shadowing experiences in as possible early on, really get to know what the team does. I think that's a really good point, because one point of it is that it gives you the chance to build up those relationships with people on a one-to-one basis, and you do find that once you do that, people get talking to other people and your practice educator, and then they can put a good word in for you, or you might find that it makes you feel more part of a team, and then you feel more comfortable asking different people, because no one person has all the answers. So it's good if you can start to network, and that's what you do in social work. That's how you survive and actually get outcomes that are really good for people. And also, obviously, it's broadening your knowledge base and your experience as well. There's another one here that says, don't feel pressured to complete your placement on a full-time working pattern. Many social workers work part-time and it doesn't make them less of a social worker. Print off the PCF fan and stick it to your wall so you have a visual reminder of what you need to have evidence by the end of the placement. So I think definitely that's a good point, and there's lots of people that obviously have kids and then you want to be thinking about part-time as well, and just in general people have different working patterns, and yeah, that's just the reality of practice, so that's a good point. I think the PCF point is a good one, and I don't know if, I think everyone's on the KSS and things like that. I think it's important because I actually, my practice educator at the time did say that she was going to compare me against other workers, and now on reflection I realised that that wasn't quite right, because they were practicing social workers that were already qualified, and really I wouldn't be expected to have been working at that level at that point. And I think that if anyone ever had concerns and you were trying to justify your level of ability or anything, it's really good for you to know those points, because you can actually then you have a backup yourself to say, oh, actually I think I'm meeting the targets, and it just kind of helps you to reassure yourself, and also helps you to meet the targets that's expected of you and not set the bar too high. And someone here saying, start gathering feedback from people you work with, colleagues, for your portfolio as soon as possible, and don't leave it till the last minute, because you might miss something valuable. Yeah, definitely think that's true. I collected so much evidence, and I was really pleased. It was really nice to actually look back through that, and it gives you a sense of what really matters for people. So you often find trends of that people felt listened to, and things like that really help you to feel that you're doing what you're meant to do as a social worker, and it's really good to know that, and that's another thing. It's so important because you often get your best feedback from the people you support, but other professionals can do it as well, and it's just finding those opportunities. People are saying take time for reflection. It's easy to get sucked in and get pulled in because it's a job role and not give yourself time to reflect. Something that I did to make sure is set time every day to write a bit of reflection, and also just to always have a notepad that's separate and nice, one that you want to write in. So do I have one in this room to show you? Just bear with me here. So it's like really silver and nice, and I always think having a nice book makes you actually want to write in it rather than just a boring pucker pad, and it's a bit of an incentive. I don't know if that would work for everyone, but it works for me, and it's just kind of like if you can write a little bit just in the moment, and that's sometimes great because you get those little bursts of that inspiration, and sometimes they're the bits that are just the best pieces in your reflective diaries and things. There's a question here that says, can we be radical in statutory services? I'd be interested in the comments if anyone has an opinion on this. I think there was a situation where I was really challenging something. I don't know if it would be considered radical, but I wasn't happy with something that I'd seen, which was as part of a larger system that I was working in, and I was having a lot of conversations with my supervisor about it, and we had some good reflective discussions around what I could do and what benefit that would be to the wider system, and what you can and can't do. And I think you can be radical, but I think maybe that's a discussion that I'd like to have with someone that has a particular interest in that area. So if anyone doesn't want to talk about that on the channel, I'd love to have an interview with someone about this. The last one, oh no, there's two left. Bring your knowledge and skills, be proactive in the placement, look for and embrace opportunities, be creative with engagement and sourcing resources, even in unlikely places. Remember, social work is about connecting with people. I absolutely love this one because I just feel like the thing that's really helped me is being proactive and looking for opportunities where you wouldn't normally see them. I think some people wait for opportunities to be given, but I've had some quite good feedback myself, like over time, just from, you know, that exact thing, like being proactive and looking for my own. And I look for sort of opportunities everywhere, so it's helped me build relationships. So when I was working with the health team, I took the opportunity to ask a lot of different people if I could shadow them, and not just shadowing social workers but thinking about other people. One really good one I had was I asked to shadow the fire service, and I sat in on one of the meetings, and it was absolutely fascinating finding out about everything that they do, and it helped me work really effectively with them. And someone then gave me a direct number to ring if I had any issues or questions, and it's just things like that that are like really super helpful, and it could help more experienced members of the team if you get those sort of contacts. Carry a notepad with you at all times so you can write things down and get into the habit of always dating what you write. So yeah, that's a really good point about putting the date on, and I mentioned that before around the notepad, but I think that's a great point and super important because you do have to write up everything. So much writing on placements and things. But yes, so we've gone through a lot, and I hope that's okay. And I love it when people actually give questions like this in the comments, because it gives me a lot of inspiration, and I can consult with others to find out what people think. So maybe people could let me know what they think of this type of video, whether they found it weird, me reading things out, or whether it was helpful. Okay, thank you. If you enjoyed the video, please can you like and subscribe and press the bell if you'd like to be updated when I put out more videos. Thank you.